Thank you, Congressman Self. Now I recognize Mr. Stanton from Arizona for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. During last week's congressional delegation trip to Mexico, I did have the opportunity to speak with President-elect Sheinbaum about the security situation in Mexico and the power that cartels yield to inflict violence and ship fentanyl illegally across our border. We have an opportunity now to curb cartel activity. In most of Mexico, police act as first responders, but they don't investigate crime. That is instead led by prosecutors' offices that are too small to effectively investigate and prosecute crime. As mayor of Mexico City, Dr. Sheinbaum allowed police to investigate crimes and hire more investigators, worked with the United States security officials, and ultimately reduced crime by almost 60%. We need to seize this opportunity for deeper cross-border collaboration to combat the cartels, including and especially stopping the flow of illicit fentanyl. Assistant Secretary Nichols, how does the State Department plan to work with the incoming administration in Mexico to combat the flow of fentanyl and build upon the commitments of the U.S.-Mexico Bicentennial Framework for Security, Public Health, and Safe Communities, and how do proposed budget cuts affect those plans?
We work intensively with the current Mexican government, and we have begun to consult with the incoming government about our cooperation on law enforcement issues, and there's no issue more vital to the security and welfare of Americans than combating fentanyl trafficking into our country. That means continuing to work to identify chemical precursor suppliers into Mexico, identifying clandestine labs in Mexico, using intelligence-driven operations to disrupt the financing of drug cartels, training and supporting vetted investigative units in Mexico, and making sure that that partnership, in addition to our bilateral engagement, works with other key partners around the hemisphere and around the world to combat this scourge.
This is a key moment in the relationship with Mexico, Central Latin America, particularly on the issue of the nearshoring opportunity, this unique nearshoring moment, capitalizing growth with our trade partner, Mexico, and preparing for the upcoming review of the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA. Earlier this month, this committee, in a bipartisan way, passed reauthorization of the BUILD Act, which allows the Development Finance Corporation more flexibility to invest in Latin America, including in the semiconductor industry. These investments would shore up U.S. national security, give the United States more tools to compete with China, and create stable jobs in Latin America that contribute to a regional semiconductor ecosystem. Assistant Secretary Nichols, how does nearshoring bolster our national security, and what can be done to ensure regional security in the Western Hemisphere, creating a more reliable business environment and limiting crossings into the United States?
Diversified supply chains provide greater security to the United States. We've already seen what can happen when a region of the world or international trade is disrupted, as it was during the pandemic. Having supply chains closer to home means that we will have access to those important inputs and resources for our nation. It creates good, high-paying jobs in our region, which gives people an incentive to stay at home rather than migrate to the United States. It creates economic growth that strengthens democracy and provides better trading partners for the United States. Recently, Secretary Blinken hosted foreign ministers as part of the America's Partnership for Economic Prosperity. 11 other foreign ministers were there talking about how we can promote these measures in the Western Hemisphere, including from Mexico, as well as Central American countries that are attracting investment like Costa Rica and the Dominican Republic.
Safe mobility offices, they help to reestablish operational control at the southern border, and they disincentivize travel to our southern border. To date, 4 existing SMOs in Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, and Guatemala have processed more than 21,000 people. USCIS recently told my office that strides made by the SMOs are, quote, proof of concept, but acknowledges that there is room to grow, room for improvement. Assistant Secretary Noyes, What resources are required to expand the impact and reach of the SMOs and preserve regional security? And how is the administration engaging governments around the world on SMO activities?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. The administration request for a Safe Mobility Initiative in fiscal year 2025 is $300 million. Those funds would be used to manage the operations of the Safe Mobility offices, but in addition to that, we're engaging in robust diplomacy with our partners, including through the Resettlement Diplomacy Network, which is an informal grouping of countries to enhance refugee resettlement by our partners. We recently led a visit by a number of partners from Europe, the Americas, and Asia to visit the Safe Mobility Office in Colombia. And part of our effort will be to continue to expand that outreach and to expand the opportunities for other countries to provide lawful pathways to migrants within our hemisphere to their regions. There are a lot of countries in the world that have labor shortages and that could provide safety as well as labor opportunities for those migrants. So this is an opportunity that allows everyone to win.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, I yield back.